Hey, are you ready to become an official college student? Check this out. We have an Accepted Students Day coming up right here at Williams Baptist University on April 10th. At this event, you'll get to create your class schedule, get your room assignment, meet your roommate, be recognized for your academic achievements, meet other future students, and that's just the highlights. You do not want to miss this day. Sign up now, and I'll see you on April 10th at Accepted Students Day.
Welcome to the LifeWork Podcast, where we help you discover joy and purpose in your work through Christ-centered insights and practical advice that transforms your career into a fulfilling calling.
Well, hello, Brother Ryan.
Hello there, Brother Most Righteous Reverend Stan.
Wow. Wow.
I actually saw that title once to an Episcopal priest. It was Most Righteous Reverend, so I think...
But he probably wasn't named Stan.
I don't know. Maybe, man. I don't remember, but I might call you that from here on out.
I would prefer that you not. But anyway, welcome to our podcast. Glad to have everyone joining us.
The Most Righteous Reverend is pleased.
And we are trying to talk something. Yes, I remember now. We're going to talk about our Williams Works initiative here. Our last podcast, we kind of talked about how it came into being and some of the motivations as to why.
It was a get-rich-quick scheme, I
No,
think.
it was not. No, it was.
No, there was another purpose. I can't remember.
Yes, and if that was the intent, we've fallen short. So what we want to do is talk about our mission statement. And our listeners are hearing that thing, oh, my eyes are glassing over, I don't want to listen to that. But I am pumped about the way we have sort of recast our historic mission. Yeah. We had a good mission statement when I got here, and I don't want to disparage it. And not that I've ever been in the role to do so, but at the other institutions where I have gone and worked, the mission statement has always been something you don't touch because the mission statement is the mission statement. If it's your school's mission, unless you are recasting or re-identifying or rebranding the school, the mission statement is what it is. So we get here and we sort of organically move into this thing called the Williams Works Initiative. And simultaneously, as we're doing that, we go through a reaccreditation visit with the Higher Learning Commission, which is the accreditation body that accredits our degree, our institution. And I have been told, nothing to do with me, but I have been told by those that have been here a while, best accreditation visit in the history of the school. I mean, no notations, no concerns, but we did get some suggestions. And one of those suggestions was to lean in harder, lean in deeper into this Williams Works initiative and our Williams Way leadership formation thing. So not soon after that, I appointed the University Planning Advisory Council to revise and UPAC, to redo our strategic plan. And it was in the course of that, I believe it was a committee that you were on or chairing or involved with that started rethinking about, is our current mission statement the best way to really talk about our legacy, our present, and our future? And you guys started working on, I don't want to know if it's new, but just a new way of stating our historic mission. And so just talk a little bit about that and how y'all came to that.
So just to give you a little insight from Aristotle, and I think this is helpful.
Everybody's eyes just glazed over.
You were just talking about accreditation, okay?
Oh, well, fair point. Fair point.
Okay,
fair point.
Aristotle says there's a difference between a proposition and a sentence. And what he means by that is there's different ways of saying the same thing. Our mission statement may change, but our mission never has. And I think that's where I'm going with that.
Okay.
So like our mission has not changed, but the way we express said mission has. And I've done these sort of mission statement planning things in both seminary level here at the university, also in church life. And a mission statement is only as useful as it can be remembered and easily expressed.
Yeah.
And let's just face it, a lot of times when these mission statements come together, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
And one of the temptations,
especially in an academic setting.
I know, and one of the temptations is to try to throw everything in the kitchen sink in a mission statement, and they become really clunky.
And wind up not saying much of anything.
They don't say a whole lot, but also you don't expect a college freshman who's new on campus during new student orientation to remember it.
Yeah.
And so one of the principles that I try to use when drafting church mission statements and that sort of thing, and there's only so many ways you can state a church mission statement because all churches share in the same mission.
Yeah,
you know?
Jesus kind of gave us one.
That's right. But I mean, I would say it needs to be simple enough that, you know, a fifth grader can learn it and memorize it. That's just kind of a rule of thumb that I go by in terms of the word choices and what you say, what you do. Also, something that can fit on a business card, and that you know, again, my goal with a mission statement like the one we have was it could be something that they could learn during new student orientation and take it away, and that would be something that would be a fixture in their brain for the rest of their time here at school. So that's why I think short and sweet is a good way to do. Now,
Agreed.
It needs to be short, sweet, but it also needs to be meaningful.
That's right.
And communicate. It's not just brevity for the sake of brevity, but brevity that clearly expresses what you're intending to do with it. And I have to admit, I was when we wrote our new mission statement, I was inspired, and not at all plagiarized, but inspired by like
It's called research.
It's research by like Harvard Business School's mission statement, which is to educate leaders who make a difference in the world. I mean, that's a really simple statement. You think Harvard University, some of the most intelligent minds in the country, if not in the world, and here they have a statement that's to educate leaders who make a difference. I mean, that's a simple, elegant explanation of what they do. And it doesn't even really talk specifically about business. It doesn't really talk specifically about what kind of leaders they're developing. But it was kind of a nice base for what I think we were doing. And so we ended up putting several components together, and we played around with words that borrowed from agriculture, because we are in an agricultural setting.
We are.
We've got farmland, and we have students working on the farm and whatnot. And I think the verb that we landed on, and I think this was Dr. Chris Hare who brought this verb to us, it was to cultivate. You know, that just sounds a lot better than to grow or to foster or to develop. I mean, cultivate is kind of it's one of those vocabulary words that just kind of punches.
And it rolls off.
It rolls off the tongue.
Cultivate, yeah.
And we said that we and here's the mission statement. We haven't said it out loud.
We have not. We probably should.
We exist to cultivate Christ-centered leaders who make a difference through their life work.
Love it.
And so that cultivate is speaking, you know, metaphorically. I mean, literally, it talks about, you know, agriculture, but metaphorically, it's talking about the way that a student grows and develops over time, or the way that a student we pour into that student's life.
That's right. We have a hand in that.
We invest in that student's life. We plant them in a certain kind of soil. We water that. We try to create some good conditions around them for them to grow, and that's what they do. They grow. They're cultivated.
Right. That's right.
And then in graduation, we harvest them and send them down the road.
It's a very active word.
Right.
I mean,
right.
It requires engagement, involvement, all the things you said.
Sure. I mean, so we cultivate these students, but we don't want to just, you know, have students. And again, I like what Harvard does here, and they say they're wanting to educate leaders. We want to have a very specific kind of leader, not just any kind of leader, not just anybody that we would send out into the world, but leaders who emulate Christ, leaders who put Christ as the focus of what they're doing, leaders who are motivated and animated by the Great Commission.
Yes.
And
gospel leaders,
you know, who think about the good news of Jesus in everything they say and do. And so Christ-centered, when you know, in evangelical land, we know what that means. That's a pretty common expression. Christ-centered leaders It just means that we're leaders focused on the mission that Christ has given us.
That's right.
That God has given us.
It's a lordship statement.
Right.
That He is the Lord, and we are to emulate, to follow, to embrace, to love, to obey, to serve Him, and through that, emulate that in our lives in the way we lead.
In everything that we do.
Amen.
I mean, it's not just our spiritual life. It's also in our marriages. It's in our workplaces. It's in our businesses. It's in our schools. There's no such thing as a truncated Christian lifestyle where you obey God and worship God on Sunday mornings and you don't do anything with it the rest of your week. So Christ-centered. To cultivate Christ-centered leaders.
And by the way, in higher ed, one of the primary benchmarks of what you're doing successful or not is graduating students.
Yeah.
Measuring graduates. That's important.
Sure.
And we want to be doing that.
Sure.
But on a personal level for me, it's not just about graduating graduates who, because they got a degree, will get a better job than they would have gotten had they not gotten the degree.
Right.
I think being faithful to the Great Commission requires Christian universities to focus on graduate leaders, Christ-centered leaders. I think that's the reason we exist.
Right.
So in that sense, I view our mission as a partnership with our local churches that support and believe in us and support us, and we are helping them to achieve that mission.
Right.
So there's my 2 cents.
Well, I think that's great, because when we say we make a difference, when we're talking about leaders who make a difference, we mean something different than Harvard does.
We surely do.
I mean, we think about that not just in terms of material or financial success, or even in the secular way of conceiving of making a difference in politics or in business. We mean we make a difference in the kingdom.
That's right.
And we are
an eternal difference.
An eternal difference. It's kingdom focused, and that can have a lot of different expressions.
It sure can.
I mean, it's not just people who go to school to become pastors or youth leaders, or people who work vocationally in a church. We had a speaker on campus this week with our natural sciences department, our biology department, and he was absolutely phenomenal. But he was a marine biologist, and he was talking about how he used marine biology as a way to plant churches in Islamic context.
Oh, my word. I love that.
And it's like that's kingdom difference making. That's kingdom difference making.
Wow.
In a way that, again, that's
making a difference.
That's making a difference.
And it's hard to separate that from the following thing, LifeWork.
Right.
LifeWork.
Right.
So you were on that committee. You guys talked about where did that come from, LifeWork?
Well, of course, we could say work. Work would have been an appropriate word to use as well. We also tossed around the word vocation. There's a lot of kind of back and forth about whether work and vocation are the same thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, a person can work in a job, but that not necessarily be the job to which they're called.
Right.
They can work in a career, but that might not necessarily be what God's ultimate plan or purpose is for their life. And so vocation is also a word that kind of has some philosophical weight and underpinnings that we didn't think necessarily communicated to a broad audience, at least initially, not until we got to explain it. You want to get to that fifth grade
apprehension
level.
level.
Get into the fifth grade apprehension level. I think the idea of life work or life's work is something that's more accessible to people, because they automatically hear, well, this is what I want to do with my life. This is the thing that I feel like I'm made for. And that is different for every single person.
It sure is.
And no matter what a person is doing, whether they're college educated or not college educated, whether they have a white collar job or a blue collar job, I mean, whatever that looks like, it needs to be something for which they're gifted, something that they benefit the world or the kingdom with, something that they can make financially, they can provide for their family. It needs to be something they take joy in.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at that intersection of all those things, you have vocation, you have your calling, you have your life's work.
Love it.
And that's what we wanted to do, was to cultivate Christ-centered leaders who make a difference through their life's work, whatever field that's in, whether you're going into medicine, you're going into education, you're going into business, you're going into farming, whatever it is, not just the call to pastoral ministry,
Right.
but whatever it is you're doing, you're going to make a difference for the kingdom. You're going to make a difference for King Jesus in anything and everything that you do.
So when you guys presented that, I'll confess, I was emotionally overwhelmed. It was an emotional thing for me because it was simplistically majestic.
That's what my wife calls me.
Micah, I'm so sorry. I apologize on behalf. I'm sorry. So
Simplistically majestic.
So it was succinct.
Yeah.
It was powerful. It was
Sure.
It was so good and so true and so accurate to the school's legacy and history, our present and our future. So we took that, we vetted it with the entire UPAC group, which it represents all kinds of constituencies across the university. We present to our board, they approved it, and now we have embraced it. We talk about it. We use it for planning. We use it for marketing. We use it for recruiting. We use it for everything. It does guide us.
Sure.
It's broad enough to encompass the entirety of what a robust Christian university ought to be. It's specific enough to provide direction and statement and definition.
Sure.
So well done. Well done. Good job.
It was good. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.